Do we have an example of an IGA that we could see before we vote on this?
We could obtain a copy of one of the other municipalities that has been involved in one of those IGAs. I don't have a copy with me right now.
Can I expand on Val's comment and everything? You say in your notes the city should enter into an IGA with the state. That almost smacks a little bit to me of closing the barn door after the horse is gone. It seems to me that if we're going to, now is the perfect time, it seems, to enter the IGA beforehand versus afterwards. Thoughts, comments?
You know, I think what we've proposed is keeping that flexibility. And so in the interim, until the IGA is perfected, we could certainly enter into MOUs with individual entities asking for a permit while the IGA is being completed. So we've tried to address, you know, how this might move forward in the next several months.
I guess my question is a legal one then. When he says should enter an IGA, if we try to enter an IGA after we made all the approvals, could the state say, now we don't want to do that, and then we're kind of stuck?
I don't think so, because the county's kind of in the same boat. They're on the
And I guess that's what I'm trying to avoid, being in that boat.
well, the county's on the verge of having that IGA negotiated done. But part of the question is the timing. Do you want your land use regulations in place in case something comes in the door tomorrow or in 2 weeks, whenever it gets finished? Or would you rather have the IGA in place, no telling how long that's going to take before you come back and reconsider the ordinance? I mean, yes, an IGA would be in the city's best interest to have, because then all those inspection, all those other issues are kind of resolved and everybody knows what the rules are when they play this game. But the ordinance is also part of those rules. And so it really is up to council how you want to time those.
Angela, do you have something?
I think Lisa does.
Okay, Lisa?
Why are we not able to just wait for the IGA coming from the county so we can see that? Because especially if we're being dependent too with MOUs, I'm a little bit concerned after listening to our mayor earlier talk about how MOUs really don't need to be enforced, or they're not always necessarily enforced. So don't we want to be kind of consistent with what the county is doing as well, and so it would be beneficial to wait to see that IGA?
Jan?
I actually agree with Lisa. I brought up two areas of concern at the last meeting: the inspectors and the air and water quality monitoring. And Kyle, it just seems to me that if we want to get the IGA done, we do it now, because they're going to be anxious to get it done so that we can get on with our regulations. I'm not comfortable passing the regulations without having the IGA, which specifically addresses both what we plan to do with inspectors as well as the air and water quality monitoring. That's my position, and I just feel really strongly that we have to be very clear how we plan to move forward before we start issuing those permits. And I understand it's been 6 months for the county. Hopefully, once the county's done, we could speed that up considerably and so we can keep moving on all this.
Angela?
I'm just a little concerned. How quickly would the IGA take to be completed if we started tomorrow?
You know, I don't think I have an answer for that. I think based upon some of the precedents that's been set with other communities, including El Paso County, it all depends on if we can take a successful IGA and possibly modify it.
Council President, members of council, Mark Smith from the City Attorney's Office. I actually had a voice message from El Paso County today related to water quality in terms of entering into an IGA with the COGCC. And they believe, from what I've heard, that they basically have the agreement, and what's happening is they're waiting on the state to actually get through that process. I believe the COGCC is in the process of appointing a new lead to their organization, and I think they're just waiting to get to the point of signature. How long it would take, I'm not sure we can dictate that. And in terms of inspectors as well, I can give you a little bit of an update on inspectors. Gunnison County did enter into an IGA with the state of Colorado to basically hire an inspector locally that would not be able to actually write violations of state law, but they could inspect for them. And the process, I touched base with Gunnison County yesterday as well. They have put an RFP out for an independent contractor that would come in and actually handle those inspections. I guess they're in the process now of reviewing what they've received for the RFPs, and at some point in the near term, we'll enter into some kind of agreement for inspection authority. And the one thing that I do want to state, to my understanding, there are 2 permit applications with the state at this point, and we do have a representative from the COGCC here who might be able to clarify this point. But what I understand is, with those applications, the state is able to put conditions of approval that go beyond what the state regulations and what the city ordinances may say. In these cases, I believe that there have been conditions of approval put in place regarding water quality testing. I don't know the parameters of those, but I believe the COGCC may be able to answer that. So there are some protections in terms of water quality monitoring for these particular applications that are pending in Banning Lewis Ranch. And that is another tool in the LGD's toolbox, in addition, while we're waiting to get an IGA in place.
Angela?
Well, again, you know, we started well over a year ago, and we gave a 6 months time out to look at and figure out and go to the task force. We brought information back, then we had to go draft regulations, and now we're bringing it back in because of the IGA. Pretty much right now, with the 2 applications that are in at the state, they can basically go through the process, and we have no regulations on. We have absolutely nothing. They could go through and do it through the hardscape and through the zoning and move forward, and we will have nothing there. I really feel strongly we need to move forward with what we've had. We've been saying 6 months, and we said another 6 months for regulations. Now we're going to say another 6 months for an IGA. And at the IGA time, then what are we going to be saying that needs to come up? We need to stop doing this, put something in place, because it's happening now. And if we want to have any protections at all, we need to do it now, then move on with our IGA. Across the state, it's been showing between the state, between COGC, I always give them too many C's, CA, they've all come forward. They've also, we understand what your concerns are, and we're willing to work with you. It's never been a case where we can point and go, look, they didn't let these wells be inspected. They've always come back and said, if you want inspections, let's sit down, let's do it, and we can get it done. They've never tried to renege on that. They've never tried to not bring forward their own regulations as well as what the cities want. So we're saying we want to wait another 6 months because we think something might happen, and we have absolutely no proof in this state that it's ever happened. We promised 6 months. We're now 6 months past our 6 months for moratorium. It's time to either say, yes, we're going to vote on these regulations and move them forward, continue to work on the IGA, the MOU process, or we need to go, you know what, honestly, we don't want this industry here, and it's going to take us years to figure it out because we want every single thing figured out, which we can't figure out until we know if there's 2 wells or 1,200 wells. We can't put hard and firm rules today because that may not be what's best for the next year when we find out yes or no is coming forward. I think we need to stick to the plan. The plan was moratorium, research it, bring regulations forward, either move forward or don't. That's what we need to do.